case number 16-058, Boston Property Development LLC for a variance to construct a 60-unit multifamily residential building on the premises number 23 and 31 Bridge Street, Quincy. Is the applicant or their counsel here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Edward Fleming. I'm an attorney here in Quincy at Wollaston. I represent Boston Property Development LLC tonight regarding the property at 23 and 31 Bridge Street in the downtown. This property is zoned Business C. And as the board may remember, we were here a number of months ago. It seems like this project's been going on forever. And I think we first appeared before the board on September 13th, at which time we made a full presentation of the proposal. So I won't bore you with the full presentation all over again, but what I would like to do tonight, if I may, is spend a couple minutes just giving you the highlights of the proposal, and then turn it over to Rob Silvio of MBAR to talk to you really specifically about the modifications and revisions that have been made to the plans. And that's really the purpose of this meeting tonight, is to share with you the modifications and revisions. But really quickly, we're here before the board asking for dimensional relief regarding minimum lot area, building height, and some building setbacks. This is a very unusually shaped parcel of land on Bridge Street, as you can see by the highlighted red area on the plan. And the topography and the shape of the site creates a hardship that makes full compliance with the ordinance very difficult and burdensome. Boston Property Development, which is a Quincy-based development company, which, as you know, was involved in the building of 999 Hancock Street, which is the old Temple Bethel building, as well as the building across the street on Marymount Road, where they converted an existing office building to residential units. And Boston Property was located for some time right on Greenleaf Street, but still remains in the city of Quincy. And Peter McLaughlin, their principal, is a Quincy resident as well. Boston Property Development is actually proposing to construct on this site a 60-unit residential development. It will include 2 levels of parking underneath the building that provides for approximately 81 spaces, along with parking across the street that will provide for additional parking for the building, approximately 1.5 spaces per unit. As I indicated, we made a full presentation of the proposal at the last meeting, so I won't bore you with the details of this moving forward. What I would like to talk with you about is that on September 13th, when we appeared, concerns were raised by this board about a few different things. One, the board wanted, before you felt comfortable to vote, that you wanted the planning board process, which is also a permitting granting agency in this development process, to be further along in their review. And as you know, during the site plan review before the planning board retains independent engineers, peer review contractors to review all of the applicant's materials, including the drainage, the architecture, traffic, and the like. And that process has been ongoing since we filed back in August. And to date, as will be reported or has been reported to the board, the planning department is prepared to make a recommendation on this matter. They've fully completed their peer review of the development and are satisfied that the applicant has responded to all of the concerns that have been raised by not only the peer review consultants and the city departments, but also by the neighbors. The other concern that was raised by the board at the time was to ensure that the National Park Service was satisfied with the proposal. At the time, if you remember, Mary Ann Peak actually appeared and testified before this body and raised questions and concerns about the development. She raised concerns about what the visual impact of the development would be on the National Park site. And this board wanted to make sure that Mary Ann Peak was comfortable that appropriate modifications and changes had been made to the plans. And then the third thing that the board raised was concerns about the MBTA. Because of its close proximity to the MBTA site, the board asked that we reach out to the MBTA to make sure that there's been communication with the MBTA, that there's no concern expressed by them. I can tell this board tonight, as I said a moment ago, the planning department has completed its review and is prepared to make a recommendation. Since the meeting, we've had numerous meetings with Mary Ann Peak. John Hanson from the development team and Chris have met with Mary Ann Peak on a regular basis. And as a result of those meetings, and also meetings with the Hospital Hill Association, significant modifications and revisions have been made to the plans. Specifically dealing and addressing concerns that Mary Ann Peak and the Hospital Hill Association raised, which was the visual impact of the residential building on the National Park Service. And Rob will talk about those detailed changes in a moment. Jim Burke is also here to talk about some drainage improvements that have been made, which is also a significant improvement to the development proposal, as you'll see. And then lastly, we reached out to the MBTA, and MBTA is well aware of the proposal. They've been provided with the plans, the development plans, and the MBTA requested, and we applied for a permit with the MBTA, and we've had ongoing discussions with them as they review this matter and the issuance of a permit. So a permit will be issued by the MBTA, and we'll continue to work with them and comply with their concerns. The MBTA will not be interfered with in any way during the construction of this proposal. They've been assured of that, but they'll monitor things moving forward, and they'll have the appropriate contact to ensure there's no disturbance to the line, because it's relied upon by so many in Quincy. So I'm not gonna step on Rob's toes with regard to the changes, and I'll let Rob talk about those things in a moment. But we feel as though we've made the changes and the significant changes in the review that's been undertaken by the planning board, and the peer review has been really in depth. And we're comfortable that this matter is prepared to move forward at this stage, and we would ask that the board consider doing so tonight. So without anything further from me, I can turn it over to Rob to let Rob kind of walk through that. And then I'd like to ask Jim Burke to talk a little bit about the drainage, and then we can open this up for questions and talk about that.
Thanks, Ed. I'm Rob Del Savio from Embark Studio. So just to orient everybody, that's the site we're talking about there. The MBTA lines that edit, and this is the Adams site here. And as you'll see when we go through, we spent a lot of time with them, and they're viewed back to the subject property. So the slight enlargement. So again, Adams site here, Bridge Street, and the somewhat irregular shaped property. View from above. So this is where we were back in July with the building. This view is sort of up in the air, obviously, looking towards the building on the side that faces most directly across towards the Adams site. It was, at this point, a 5-story building. It was 4 stories above the ground level, which had mostly parking on it, until you got back there. So again, here is where we are. After significant meetings with the Park Service, a lot of view studies of what you would see at the building from their property, we decided best to cut back this portion of the 5th floor of the building. So where it was all the way out to this point here, we cut it back and only left the 5th story back, pushed back further from the perimeter of the facade. So that's where we were previously. So this is the view that we had put together to share with the Park Service based on the original design, the design that existed back in July, showing the extent of the building and what you would see from their property. As we went back and modified the design, we redid the view, and they asked for us to step back further with your back almost against the house itself, and you can see how much has been cut down now from the view. So that entire 5th floor from this point going out is now removed. We actually were able to drop the building a little bit as well, overall height. So again, just a view. Again, this is the piece that's been removed, and this is what was there previously. The remainder of the project remains as it was. There's now 1 level of subterranean parking, so we have 83 parking spaces on the site currently. Next slide. And the 1st floor parking here, we've actually picked up a few more parking spaces along the backside of the courtyard as well. And this remains some residential units, some common area for the development. No change here for the most part. We still have 60 units, as I mentioned. The layout pretty much like this. We're working on the interior layouts now. And this is where you'll see where the building previously had been. So we took out about 3,000 square feet on the 5th floor of the building by getting rid of this area here. Just more typically in this. We can probably go down to Jimmy's work now.
Good evening, Jim Burke with Selberg and Associates, and we're the surveyors and engineers for this particular job. You looked at the existing conditions, and basically 23 and 31 of multifamily homes that we're looking to replace. So here's the building that we're proposing. The major changes really consist of the drainage in this location. This remained the same. But we had the drainage originally kind of added in to the drainage for 999 Hancock Street. We felt at that particular time it made sense to kind of just expand that particular drainage system. It's already in the ground. The city had some concerns with it, so instead we came up with a location of it right here. The advantage of that particular location is that it has about 20 to 24 feet of just coarse gravel, sand. We had the advantage of taking a look at that when 999 was being built, had an exposed space. So we were able to change Rawls rate. The soils down here are, not as good, and allowed us to get all the drainage in this particular location. We had a meeting with the city engineers, and they asked us to contain the entire 25-year storm body that's generated off of this roof. That generated 9 6-foot diameter, 12-foot deep leach pits. So it's a substantial system. Takes on all the storm water up to a 25-year and actually contains a lot of the 100-year storm. To release the overflow for the 100-year storm is what I call a level spreader. Basically, it's a 100-foot long pipe with 1-inch orifices drilled every 2 feet. So what it does, it kind of mimics laminar flow across the land, as opposed to, we originally had just a kind of a point discharge, and Quincy Engineering had an issue with that with erosion, etc. So we came up with this scenario, and they seem to like that. But everything else, as far as utilities go, off of Bridge Street, sewer, water, talked about that. We'll be doing a fire flow test, of course, but they believe everything is adequate to service the building. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
So that's essentially the applicant's presentation tonight. And just to highlight, what Rob had talked about, in addition to the change in the building in that fashion by eliminating that 5th floor and the view from the National Park, the discussions that we had with Marianne Peak and with the Hospital Hill Association, but primarily with Marianne, there's also the materials that will be utilized for the building. And there was a significant amount of time spent on the material discussion, the types of materials that will be utilized. And as I indicated to a Hospital Hill neighbor and the Hospital Hill Association, that will all be incorporated into the planning board's decision as it was in the final design plans. And that discussion will be ongoing. And we also are appearing before the Historic Commission on the 23rd, at which time the Historic Commission will also weigh in regarding historic matters, things of color and material selection and things of that nature. So there's a number of layers of protection for the Adams National Park to ensure that there will not be any negative impact upon them. And to highlight what Jim said as well, the removal of the drainage by no longer using the 999 drainage system and pulling it back and dealing with drainage on this site is really just additional protections for the Furnace Brook riverfront area, that there's no additional intrusion on that. And we actually obtained an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission for the initial plan, and we'll be able to revise that now in a positive way because we've now dealt with the drainage on the site. So I think there's been significant I think progress made. The level of work that goes into these matters with the level of review that takes place in the planning board is really important, I think, for the community to understand as well, because nothing nothing is left without a level of review and comment. So that's essentially our presentation.
Questions?
I have one question. The gentleman from Interfaith, was he okay?
Yeah, we've continued to have discussions with Interfaith Social
Yeah.
Services. I don't anticipate.
Hi, I'm Jim Thorne. I'm
Jim,
the
hold on
facilities
one
chairman.
second. Hold on one second. Let's finish this part first,
Okay,
and I'll
thank
call
you.
you. Okay, thank you.
So,
Sorry.
we have had, I think, continued discussions, but those discussions will be ongoing because there'll be improvements made to the Bridge Street and things of that nature as well as part of our, the final conditions of approval from the planning department. And we'll have to have discussions, but we want to have discussions with our neighbors.
Okay. Thank you.
Frankel?
And just in the explanation of revisions, where's the new off-site parking? Is that by perpetual easement or is that?
Oh, the offset parking is, the 7 spaces are right down in this location here. There's the existing, if you go back one. So you can see what we're basically taking this driveway out and this garage and just kind of building that out a little
Is
bit.
that your property or?
Right.
Yes.
It's a entity of that?
Well, yeah, Boston Property, the principals of Boston Property own that property. That's what gave them the opportunity. And what was great about that, and I think what the planning department liked, is that it provided clear visitor parking.
I agree, I just wondered how who you're dealing with and if it was by perpetual easement or if it's deeded in with the property.
Yeah, and the terms of that, we're still working out with the planning department, but it will likely be an easement with opportunities for extension with review of the planning department determined need. We think that the parking actually provided at 1.5 spaces, believe it or not, will actually be more than sufficient to service this building. But if in the event that those spaces are needed, it will be continued.
Thank you.
Anybody want to speak in favor of the project? In favor? Once, twice?
Yeah, we're Interfaith, we're not opposed to the project.
Come on up, please.
Good idea. I cut you off before. Your name and address, please.
I'm Jim Thorne, 78 Granite Place, Milton. I'm the past president and the chairperson of the Facilities Committee for Interfaith. I hark back to what I've said in the past. Parking is the big concern there, and it's also that flows to the city, correcting some of that parking on Thayer Street, where the residents park there constantly. I was by Bridge Street today. We had about 10 cars parked there, which took just about all the available parking that's available there on our end of the street. We're concerned about the 2 parking lots now will have additional egress and traffic from the guest parking. So this was, when we moved there 20 years ago, we went there as a business, non-profit business, but it's a business. And just like the other businesses in the area, we were growing. We have I believe it's the dental clinic, which is on the other side of us. And everybody that's there, as well as the businesses on Adams Street, depend upon that circulation through Bridge Street. So we're dependent for our clients and customers at the food pantry and at our thrift shop into the evening on the counseling for the parking. And that's our big concern is parking. And that we've had some discussions, our executive director has had some discussions with the owner, but we have nothing in writing and no commitments of what the ultimate result will be. So I want to reiterate and just say that we still have that real issue with concern. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in favor? Once, twice, 3 times, whatever.
My name's Alexander Steff. I'm a neighbor. I live on Adams Street, 156 Adams Street. I'm not necessarily in favor or opposed. I just wanted to speak briefly here and first just thank them for the collaborative process they went through, both the neighborhood association, which I'm a member, and Mariana National Park Service, but also second, just to voice just a general concern or point about this whole district that you have here, which this is now one piece that runs from the Woodward School and the Historical Society back to Furnish Brook along Hancock and Adams Street. This is I think a holistic unit of parcels, and this is going to be potentially quite a dynamic area in Quincy, and right up against what is very close, just on the other side. There is a series of very small streets and single unit housing that could be very mutually beneficial, and it could be a real asset to the city. It also could be quite a mess if it's undone correctly. So I think this is, I'm optimistic there'll be future development in this area, but just want to start the process and put on the record that we're all interested in a holistic plan. We'll be working with the Planning Commission in the future on these issues. And again, thanks to these guys for being collaborative and support. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll have public hearing over. Anybody opposed or undecided wants to speak? Opposed or undecided? Step right up and state your name and address.
I'm not necessarily opposed so much as I have a question.
But first, give me your name and address.
I'm sorry, Bill Zams, I'm Ken Edgewood, Quincy. I'm not so much opposed as I need a question answered before I can make the call. Long story short, I read what I view as a second round of the peer review, and it was dated in December. And a number of the things that Attorney Fleming has said have been taken care of were still under question by that draft that I saw. There were a number of other things mentioned, including concerns about connecting to the parking lot, the satellite parking space, the trash plan, and concerns about driveway angle. My question to Mr. Fleming, has there been a third iteration of the peer review?
Yes, there were responses provided.
A third iteration?
Yes.
In response from the peer review board?
Yeah, and there's conversation going on all the time. That's why I talked about the level of review.
Again, I mean, is my read of the second document
Right.
reasonable?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And there was no
Fine.
questions to be answered.
Nobody, no comment.
Anyone else opposed or undecided? Twice, 3 times for that public hearing over.
We don't do correspondence.
No new correspondence, okay. This has been around a long time, guys. Let's start that over there. Mr. Frankel, what do you think?
I follow the project. I appreciate all the work that's going in with satisfying the national parks, dealing with the MBTA. Part of our decision, should it be positive, I assume, will be to comply with all of the recommendations from peer review as it is ongoing. Obviously, parking is the issue. They have done a great job of providing a substantial amount of on-site parking. I understand the problems with egress on the satellite, but having the satellite parking for overflow is a substantial step, which I'm pleased to see be taken. Parking during construction is something that hasn't really been discussed, but I will presume that they'll be working with Interfaith and everyone else to make sure that that doesn't become a whole disaster. I think the area is, they're coming right down this area, and all the buildings are going to be really advantageous and a benefit to the city in that corner as you come around. And I think I'm in favor of seeing this continue to progress.
I too, I think it's a great deal that you've shaved the flooring down to make the National Park Service happy. It's a huge attraction for the city. I'd hate to see anything happen to it. Off-site parking, I think, is a great idea, additional parking. It looks like you've really addressed the migration of any off-site water far in excess of what you needed to do in the project. I think it's great for the area.
A lot of things I won't go over that have already been mentioned as considerations. I'm happy with the collaborative effort. I'd like to see that ongoing. I'll be in favor.
I feel the same way as my fellow board members, that the reviews that have been conducted through the peer review, through the planning board, we have a minor piece in this, so I think again, there's been a lot more oversight than we're going to have.
Council, when is the next planning board? You haven't approved yet by the planning board, but you anticipate that you will be
That's correct. Next planning board is actually tomorrow night.
tomorrow night.
Right, the final recommendation will be presented at that time.
I would like to include in our case, our decision, that we need the approval, that we need the approval of the zoning board, the planning board. I'm also in favor, so get a chance for a motion.
And by the way, the technology is great. Seeing what it would look like from the side is,
It's nice.
makes life a lot easier.
And we'll get those iPads right here.
I know, exactly.
Okay. Regarding case number 16-58, Boston Property Development LLC for a variance to construct a 60-unit multifamily residential building on the premises number 23 and 31 Bridge Street, Quincy. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to grant the requested variance and subject to the approval of the planning board, and we required for the allowance of the requested variance to be administered.
A motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Get a second.
Second, sorry. A motion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Nice work.